I'm Miriam Joy and welcome to my studio. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be working on this wonderful pumpkin napkin ring today, and this is one thing that you can do a whole set at one time, so it's a lot of fun, and we can put them in assembling items so they won't take you much time at all. So come on, join me, let's get started. First thing we're going to do is remove all of our jewelry because we're going to be doing these with QuikWood today, and QuikWood is rock hard. Rock hard includes in your jewelry, and it has 20 minutes workable time. And we're going to put vegetable spray on our hands so that the clay won't stick to our hands. And we're using QuikWood, and I treat it just like a clay. It has 20 minutes workable time, like I said, rock hard in an hour. And I'm going to take my scissors, and we're going to cut a piece off. But I'm going to show you what we're going to use as our mold today. We're using a pumpkin ice cube tray, and you can see it was 97 cents. I found it at several different places this year, and the great thing is you could do 10 at a time, so it will not take you very long to have all the different ones that you need. We're going to make sure that we have it oiled just a little, and instead of spraying it directly in because it gets too slippery, I'm just going to work it with my fingers. You could do the next one. You have quite a bit on your fingers. Just make sure you get it really good, especially up in the little stem as well. So now that we've got that sprayed, we're going to look at our QuikWood and say, okay, I need about that much. So maybe about an inch, a little bit more than an inch. We're going to cut that with our scissors. We're going to remove this end piece of our QuikWood, and we're going to seal it back on that part to keep it nice and fresh. This is epoxy. It's 2 parts. You have your 1 and your 2 parts. One of the biggest things people forget to do is to remove the plastic coating. So take that off now. And then to activate it, we're going to knead it. And you can see the different marbleization colors we have in it, and we're going to knead it till it starts to turn warm, and it is one solid color. Now if you are doing 10 pumpkins at a time, do 1 pumpkin, then start your next pumpkin and keep on going, so on and so forth. You don't want to work such a big piece that by the time you got to the 10th pumpkin it was too hard. It's better to keep a fresh piece. So just work on 1 pumpkin at a time with the clay. So then we want to roll it into a ball, get rid of all of our lines, and we're going to insert it into our pumpkin. And one of the things I kept forgetting to do was to push down and to get rid of the air bubbles underneath. And I need just a little bit more. I didn't quite get just enough. You don't have to have it all the way to the top, but I'm not even getting near the stem yet. So I think that's enough. I'm going to do another piece here. And I'd rather have less and more. If you got it so close to the top, take it off, set it aside, then knead that into your next piece as you start that. Let's see if this is going to be even enough. The reason you get the air bubbles out is so you don't get parts that look flat or kind of down. If you do, that's okay. It's not a real big deal. And I've got that all in one piece, so I'm just going to press that in and just blend it in there. Now I'm going to push up into the stem, and like I said, make sure it is not coming out the edges. You do not want that coming out the edges. If it is, take some of that clay out, and we're just going to smooth it out just like that. Now you could leave it for about half an hour. If you want to make sure it's really dry, leave it for an hour. And then pop that right out, and you're going to get your little pumpkin piece. And it's going to look just like that. These are where the air pockets were that we didn't get squished out all the way. If you have them, it's okay. It's not a deal breaker. Just go ahead and use those. And once that's out, we're going to just base coat this, and I'm going to use tomato spice just to coat my pumpkin. And this is a good base color, because if you don't use a good base color, you're going to have to put several layers of paint on. If you did the yellow or the orange, it's going to take several layers. And we're just going to base coat the front and the back. And the stem is a dark brown. And then we're going to put that on our dry board to dry. Now you could assembly line, you've got all of them, so by the time you get to the last one that you're working on, that one will be dry. QuikWood is also a product that we do carry on our website, and we do have our dry boards back in stock as well. So move some of this stuff out of the way so everybody can see the different things here. I want to take our craft sponge and I'm going to slightly dampen it. I don't want any water left in it. I'm going to wring it out completely. I'm going to go into my orange color now, and I'm going to pounce that off, and we're going to come over to our pumpkin, and that should be separated. You shouldn't see a glob of color at all. If you have a glob of color, you've got too much on there and you need to pounce some off. And if it starts to water like that, you've got it too wet. And you need to dry your sponge a little bit. So we've got that. I'm going to pounce all the way. Now see how our lines show up because they're the crevices of the pumpkin, and that's what you want because those are deeper grooves, those are shadows. You want them like that. So we would do all of them like that and let him dry. And then we're going to come in with a scruffy brush or an old brush, and we're going to pounce off our yellow. I think this is apricot, in fact. And we're going to just highlight on the fat part of our pumpkins so that we make them more rounded. And see how little paint I'm actually using. I want to do it on the side part because he's actually where he turns. Right on that guy as well. Make sure you don't do it in the crevices where the red is showing through. Okay, so we've got the paint on him. And then once we've got all of our paint, we're going to come in and we're going to add some more QuikWood for the little leaves. And our little swirl kind of looking, the vine I guess is what that is. Maybe we'll take it off the napkin and kind of set it up somewhere so he'll show a little bit better. We'll put him in the front of our dry board. He's so little there that it's hard to show him. So we're going to go back over to our QuikWood. And the hardest part for QuikWood for me is cutting off a small part. We just need a little part. We don't need much, but we want to make sure we cut both of those layers and get equal amounts. So we're going to come back now and peel off the plastic. Don't forget, especially when you're cutting a small part, the plastic to peel it off, and we're going to activate it again. So one solid color, warm to the touch. Get just a little bit of, You do not want to overdo your oil because you want it sticking to your pumpkin. I also turn these into necklaces. I do have a video on that, and they made really cool Thanksgiving necklaces, or you can turn them into jack-o'-lantern for Halloween. And away runs that little part. We'll have to find him in a second here for our next little leaf. But I'm going to take this guy, I'm going to flatten him out and pull him to a tip. And we're going to set him on. And he's too big, so I'm going to pull more of that tip out. Try and get him a little bit smaller. We may have just enough without that other piece. We're not going to worry about him. And I'm going to press him right onto our little pumpkin there. You want to keep the back flat. Don't worry about being perfect. Everybody's always worried about being perfect, and we're not worried about that. Just make sure your leaves aren't too big. We're going to roll that into a tip this time and push down. That seems to work a little bit better. Let's see if that leaf is okay in size. Still want him just a little bit smaller. And see how little of QuikWood it really does take. So again, I'm going to roll that tip, flatten him out, excuse me, and put him on the pumpkin. Make sure you don't have too much pumpkin up on top. Okay, I'm going to take my clay tool, and I'm going to make a line down, and then I'm going to put, and I like it this way, the little veins in a leaf. And again with the other side. Not really turning out cute. And then we're going to make our little vine. And for some reason, this is one of the hardest things for me to do, is to make a little squiggle. And I still have leftover clay. I'm going to kind of push him up under those two leaves, and we just want to kind of squiggle it. There is no right or wrong on your little kind of vine. I'm going to loop mine, and I want to squish it enough that I know, you don't want to worry about it being too squished, but enough that you know it's secure onto your pumpkin. Now, you could come in and you could color these all individually with paint, but I love to use embossing powders. If you've watched any of my clay videos, I use a lot of embossing powders because the clay is sticky. You're not gluing anything down, and I do have a hard time going back in and painting these edges, and see, I'm already done with that leaf. The embossing powders, you want the type that's shiny. Go from your embossing powder into your lid. You can find them at in your scrapbook section. Also, BlueWhaleArts.com sells them. You want the shiny ones, not the ones you have to heat up. And also, Giraffe's Laugh carries them as well. So we've put our green on. We're going to put our brown onto our stem and find him here. And they usually come in sets. And I'm going to put that brown. Try not to get it on my green leaves. And make sure you get the edges. Sometimes I'll leave the embossing powder around something, the brown, it kind of creates a shadow. But what we're going to do is we're going to remove some of this that's on the pumpkin. You want to get that kind of off, like you don't want green underneath there. You also could do it with a Q-tip. Now we're going to put some reflective gold on, because you always have reflective light. I'm going to put just a tad right down the center, each of those, and just a tiny bit on your vines. And then I'm going to come back in here and I am going to put some gold also on my pumpkin to give it a little bit more reflective light and kind of blend the embossing powder in with the colors. So there, we've done him. Now at this point in time, you could use your spray varnish. You could use the 3D lacquer, which we do carry, give it a real strong coating coat on that so it would last for a long time. And I probably pulled that out too fast from my cameraman. I apologize for that. And so once it's all varnished and it's nice and dry, what we're going to do is there's these little wreaths, and you can find these at your craft store. If you can't find these, go outside and make them. Just get some little brown vines. They could be any type of little branches or anything, and just wrap them with a wire just big enough that your pumpkin fits right over the top of those. And we're going to take some leather lacing here, and I'm going to make them about 8 inches long. And you want all of them to be the same size. You don't want longer ones and shorter ones. So make all your sets the same. And these were about 8 inches. Get rid of our lacing. And decide which is going to be your flatter surface. And I'm going to hot glue these on. And I want the shiny part towards the outside, because the outside is my correct part. You tried not to let your glue show from the other side. But your little pumpkin is going to be in the middle, so we're not going to worry about if stuff gets around that or not. And then I'm going to take E6000. If you can't find it, it's another product that we do carry as well. I'm going to take E6000. I'm going to glue it around the edge of my pumpkin. You don't want it so it shows through on the other side. And then we're just going to glue this on with E6000. And there you have your wonderful looking pumpkin napkin rings. They're great for Thanksgiving, and like I said, wouldn't that be, if you're going to somebody's house for Thanksgiving, this would be a really nice hostess gift. Find out how many people she's got coming and do these up ahead of time. They would just be really fun to have. So this is our project for today. I thank you for coming over and visiting me. Jump over to the Miriam Joy websites for some of the products we may have used today. If you don't have, can't find anything there, or you have a question for me, please email me at art@miriamjoy.com, and our website is just miriamjoy.com. Thank you for joining me today. God bless.